right, y'all. Welcome back and happy Thursday. First and foremost, let me thank every single one of y'all for helping P and I get to 10,000 subscribers on this channel. We put a ton of work in, but we could not have done it without y'all support. So today we would normally be talking about the injuries in this matchup, but we talked enough about that last night. So I want to do something different. Let me share with you one of the other reasons why I have so much confidence in Tennessee's offense versus Georgia's defense coming up on Saturday by taking a look at what Ole Miss did. And the reason that I want to focus on this game is because they had the exact same offensive system that Tennessee has. And last year they ran it a lot better than Tennessee, but now we're running it. I would say it's probably going to end up looking better than Ole Miss even ran it last year. But Georgia does what they do, and all the same openings will be there. So I think that we could pretty much replicate what Ole Miss did and find the same amount of success. Now, the crazy thing about this offense is that it's really like a two-read, and honestly, it's more of like a one-read system. You're asked to get the football out of your hands quickly, but it has to be pretty much predicated off of what the offensive coordinator is calling. They've got to scheme things up very well. If things aren't there, you're supposed to use your legs. So y'all will see that as we go, further into this video. But y'all please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. We're also going to be starting off with what Ole Miss did on defense, especially with their pass rush, and talking about how Tennessee can maybe replicate that part of it because that was a huge part of that game. So I'm going to go through like a couple of quick notes here, y'all, just because you might go look at the stats from the game last year and see, well, Ole Miss did a great job of limiting Georgia's rushing offense. So if you go to like ESPN, it'll say that they held Georgia to 59 yards on the ground, 1.8 yards per carry. But if you look at PFF, it shows you the true yards from scrimmage rushing the football, 111 yards for Georgia, 3.8 yards per carry. Now, for those of y'all wondering, what did Ole Miss do running the football? So ESPN is going to tell you 134 yards, 3.7 yards per carry. And just like straight from scrimmage with PFF is 138, 3.9 per carry. So the whole point here, y'all, is that Georgia actually ran the football pretty well. But, man, they did a great job of getting sacks, and that's why ESPN shows you a totally different number than PFF does. It looks like they were just super dominant versus the run, but you don't have to be super dominant versus the run if your offense can move the football the way that Ole Miss did. So let's go on ahead and get this thing started, man. And we're just going to be going through the sacks first and foremost. I want to start with the wide copy so that y'all can see the coverage down the field. It was really tight. Now, how did Ole Miss get the pressure that they got? How did they generate the sacks that they did? Well, there's a couple of different ways that you can do this, but they pretty much just were able to find some like isolated like one-on-ones versus Georgia's offensive linemen. And they use some speed and things like that, or, whatever pass rush moves to be able to beat these guys. So Ole Miss did a lot of things where, they're running, like a wide front. That can mess with Georgia's offensive line, make them have to go one-on-one. You can also do stunts. Tennessee typically runs more stunts, but on this first play, we're going to see a defensive tackle versus their right guard, who in this game, it was actually Tate Ratledge. And I said before that he didn't play in this game. I was wrong on that. He did play. He was banged up. He didn't play that much. But the new right guard, it could be Juan Gaston, who's a true freshman. He's a little bit banged up. And whoever it is that's coming in behind him, whether it's Juan Gaston or not, I don't think that anybody is going to be as good as, Tate Ratledge was, even while he's banged up. But you're just going to see, man, look, just beat him. Use a little swim move. You know what I'm saying? Like, just be better than him. I think that we can do that type of stuff versus their right guard this year. So you're seeing down the field again, the coverage is there, but also the pressure is getting there very, very quickly. This is going to be huge on third downs. And actually, Ole Miss isn't dialing up too many blitzes. They're able to just win with their front four. So here, what you're going to see is, on the right side of the defensive line, left side of the offensive line, there's going to be a whole lot of pressure, a whole lot of sacks that comes from that side. But this is actually Ernest Green, who will be their starting right tackle on Saturday if he gets to go. But this is nothing but just a straight-up speed rush. Beat them with speed. You know what I'm saying? Duck down, do something. Don't just go straight at their hands, which is what Tennessee did a lot of last year. I have no idea why, but we don't have too many counter moves. Even James Pierce at this point in the NFL, that game last weekend versus Tampa Bay, I was like, dog, use a secondary move. I'm hoping that we've been working on that, because if we just do that, we'll be able to beat them in a one-on-one situation. So here I'm just showing that there is one player that is open. So Georgia's system is different from Ole Miss or Tennessee, where they're actually asked to do more like pro-style stuff, where you actually have to read the field. But even though this guy's open out in the flats, he doesn't even have the time to even throw it there. So this is, Georgia wants to do a bunch of three-step drop stuff, get the pressure there quickly. They can't even do that. So here, we actually have number 57 playing at left tackle, who will be the starting left tackle on Saturday. You can see him get beat like he stole something off of what? A counter move. Set him up with the speed. He's falling all down and stuff. They're not great athletes, y'all. Like, they're really not. So if any of our defensive linemen are watching this, y'all should be working on a secondary freaking move. You will beat the brakes off of these guys if y'all do that. Just try it. You know what I'm saying? Just try it sometimes. And you have to kind of like start the game off setting things up. But once after you've done your setup, bring the counter off of that. So here there's another player that's wide open. And there was time for Carson Beck to find it, but at this point, he's already really starting to feel the pressure. So he's not even really scanning the field very well. So this is going to be, this is actually Oscar Delp who's going to be blocking his defensive end. And Oscar Delp, man, this is something about Georgia is that they are overly disciplined. So he was probably told, man, you got to use your hands really fast because these guys are going to be quick coming off of the edge. So he's going to do like a phantom knocking hands down when there's no hands to even knock down. Watch this. Boom. What are you knocking down, son? And then that's also Ernest Green, who can't even help him there. So use the speed, okay? Duck up under stuff. Use a few moves here and there. This is a player that I'm highlighting as maybe open, but I mean, the pressure's already there. They just got pressure on these guys very quickly just in these situations. So again, it's coming off of Georgia's left side of their offensive line. And what we're going to see right here is this is Ernest Green too. So just simple stuff, kind of like a little bit of a hezzy there. I mean, really nothing. But just throw a little wrinkle in there, you know what I mean? And you will be able to beat these guys. So I'm very much looking forward to that. So finally, some pressure coming from Georgia's right side. And this is going to be, he's going up against an offensive tackle that I don't think is still on the team. I think he's gone now. But, I mean, just get his hands off of you, right? Like, you can beat these guys with speed. You can beat them with some counter moves, so on and so forth. So hopefully Tennessee can replicate some of that. It'll be a huge part of this game. I know that Gunnar Stockton's legs is going to be a major point of emphasis. But I just think that, man, let these guys go hunt, especially on third downs. If he can kind of like weasel his way out of that sometimes, and, okay, we'll figure that out later on. But let these guys hunt. Let them be good athletes. So we're going to be going to the coverage now, and this is cover 4. This is what Georgia runs the most of, especially versus this type of a system. And versus Ole Miss, they ran it 27.7% of the time. Versus Tennessee last year, 33.8%. So we've talked about cover 4 several times. We won't go through all that. But what Ole Miss does that I love is that they're setting things up, even though these reads, like the quarterback's really not reading anything. You know what I'm saying? Like these are choice routes. So the quarterback's really not reading much of anything. But what they do is they set it up so that he doesn't have to. It's just there. You can operate quickly. And you'll also see that they get the football out of their hands quickly. But either way, what happens here is this wide receiver with that yellow arrow, he's going to run in between these two zones. Now, because Georgia plays overly disciplined, if you get to a certain marker, because those zones can kind of overlap, they're both like we're taking up 2 players in coverage with just one wide receiver. And you'll see why that's huge for this play moving forward, because this linebacker who's playing the underneath coverage does the same thing. Right now, he's covering grass, y'all. There's nobody there. So why doesn't he use the common sense that, God gave him and turn his head around and see and maybe drop back or try to cover something? He's covering nothing. So we already knew that this will be open. And this is where the film study and all that type of stuff comes into play. Draw the stuff up. So this guy's going to be wide open. We can be on time. It's an easy pitch and catch. You got to be, of course, you have to throw a good pass. You got to make the catch, so on and so forth. But this is, come on, y'all. This is SEC players. They should be able to do that type of stuff all day long. So on this play, Ole Miss is showing that pre-snap motion that's going to the defense's right side. So the linebacker naturally is going to move to his right. Well, we're going to run that tight end right behind you to your left. So we just get him out of position very easily. But also on top of it, we've got the wide receiver that's coming from the bottom, occupying 2 people yet again to give us a clean space to be able to throw this football. Again, easy pitch and catch. It's not complicated. It's not hard. And Georgia will do the exact same thing moving forward. Now, we've talked a lot and we've kind of, ragged on these guys for being overly disciplined. One of the things that you have to pay attention to is where is the discipline going to pay off for their defense. On this play, the discipline actually pays off. So we have 2 running backs set up in the backfield. This linebacker, he's looking at the running back that's on the right side of that quarterback. So what Ole Miss is doing is like we just talked about, okay, we'll get the linebacker to bite up on what looks like it's play action or something like that, or some type of motion, whatever. Make them bite up into the opposite side of, maybe somebody that's running, behind them. And that's what's happening here. But the linebacker keeps his focus. He keeps his eyes on that running back. But now what we have on the front side of this is the other running back is going to occupy this linebacker who's highlighted in red. So we're running things off because we feel like, man, this is going to be wide open because there's no way that this linebacker is going to be this disciplined. But he was, so he's able to sniff this play out. But pay attention to this part of it. If that linebacker wasn't disciplined, look at all of the room to run for this running back. He would have been wide open with about 10 to 15 yards before he's going to probably see anybody. And the players are circled in white. They're already getting blocked. There's just one guy. This is a one-on-one in a whole bunch of open field. you feel confident with your guys being able to win that battle. And if nothing else, it's at least a 10-yard gain. So that's an automatic first down, but the discipline paid off on that play. Now, this one here, what we have is pistol. We already know Tennessee runs a whole lot of pistol. Like we said, Ole Miss, they ran tighter splits. It wasn't always super wide like Tennessee was last year. Obviously, we've already seen some different route combinations, just a lot more wrinkles to their game. But Tennessee's going to replicate all of these things coming up on Saturday. So with that pistol, we know that you can run that wide zone or that stretch play or just the outside zone. That is a killer versus the mid front that Georgia likes to play on defense. So we fake this front, okay? And then we're going to boot off of that. But you see that the linebackers naturally have to bite up. So the guy that's coming right behind him to the opposite side, he's going to be wide open, but we don't even need to throw it there. Why? Because they're playing quarters coverage. We know that we can push them off vertically by stepping on their toes and getting a good burst off of the football. And then we come right back wide open for this, easy pitch and catch for a first down. So Tennessee's going to do a whole lot of these things. We've already seen them doing things like this, and we will have even more wrinkles. So like we talked about, with these choice routes, with this system, it's really just like one read. If the read's not there, the quarterback is actually asked to run. They're not asked to stand inside of the pocket. So if you ever hear somebody talking about Ole Miss's system or Tennessee system about 95% of the time, and they're talking about them having to stand inside of the pocket and go through reads, they're wrong. They don't know what they're talking about. That's not how the system really works. Now, Ole Miss last season, they did have some plays with real reads. Tennessee's shown that as well this year. But the whole point is a couple of players are open, but some of these guys aren't really reads probably on this play. So the quarterback is running. I think that's Jackson Dart, and he moves up and says, well, I'll just dump it off to my running back and get an extra 3 to 4 yards. So that's a very positive play if everything's covered up down the field. So now we're talking about cover 3, which Georgia ran 23% versus Ole Miss last year and 28.4% versus Tennessee. If things are covered up down the field, use your running backs coming out of the backfield and just dump it off to them. Tennessee's starting to use our running backs coming out of the backfield a lot more as pass-catching threats. That should be there all day long. You could honestly run that almost every single play. Just run the coverage off deep and dump it off to a running back or dump it off to like a tight end over the middle or coming out of the backfield, and you'll be able to get 5 to 6 yards on almost every single play. I can guarantee it. So this is just showing y'all the regular operational stuff. In cover 3, the outside underneath stuff is always going to be there. So great job of just hitting on that. You just got to be on time. Ole Miss did a great job of getting the football out of their hands quickly. That's going to be a big part of this game. So still in cover 3, but we're going empty set. So what that means is we know we pretty much are going to have some type of a one-on-one with that linebacker versus whoever. Doesn't matter if it's a running back, if it's a tight end, if it's an offensive lineman that's flexed out. Their linebackers are terrible in pass coverage. So what Ole Miss does at the bottom with these purple routes is they're going to run that coverage off deep so that we have a very wide open spot to be able to throw this football versus a linebacker that we know can't cover it to the outside. Easy pitch and catch. There's no processing at all. You just snap the football, you know that it's there, and you throw it, and you make the catch, and you see what you can do after that point. So here, same thing, just regular operational stuff, and you just try to get the yards after the catch. I think that our wide receivers, all of our playmakers have shown that they can do that for sure this year. So also versus cover 3, this is actually cover 1. So versus cover 1, what you want to do is more like man beaters because cover 1 is man with one safety typically playing high. So last year, Georgia ran at 15.4% versus Ole Miss, 16.2% versus Tennessee. Now, running these double slants, any sort of like a in-breaking route should be there. You don't want to run like the vertical stuff, whether that's just like a straight fades can be there, kind of a difficult pass, comeback routes, you know what I'm saying, like just like curls or hitches or any of that. Not always there. Outs, kind of a dangerous pass, but it can be there. But you got to have some things that's set up to maybe like rub a player or like pick a player off or whatever. But slants should be there a lot. So going double slants, the inside guy, that slot wide receiver, he's going to be the space player. The outside guy, he has the space. He's going to be this guy. He should be there. Just simple pitch and catch. Get it there, throw it accurately. That's a really good route and see what you can get after the catch. So on this play, we're going to have a running back that's going to be matched up versus their safety, Malachi Starks. I told y'all he wasn't great in coverage. This is just an arrow route. The middle of the field, like I said, it can be open a lot versus cover 1 if you set it up right. There's a whole lot of room for him to make some things happen. But that's a first down. That's pretty simple. So this is cover 2 man, which Georgia ran 9.2% versus Ole Miss, 5.4% versus Tennessee last year. And again, going back to the film study part of this, you know that if you line up a certain type of a way, well, Georgia's going to play you, they're going to play you a certain type of a way. So we knew that the outside cornerback will be playing off coverage. And then the, slot guy, that nickel player, he's going to be playing press coverage versus the slot. So, okay, Now the slot wide receiver turns into like a decoy, and he's going to set this rub route up, and then we're going to run that outside wide receiver in a spot where, man, hey, he's going to be wide open over the middle of the field. In verse cover 2, man, the middle is pretty much always open. So we should be able to hit on that plenty, and then you can also run on that pretty well. So same thing's pretty much happening here, where the slot guy's kind of like a decoy. He's the pick player, and then pretty easy pitch and catch. So we'll see how much Georgia wants to run that, but there's answers to all of the things that they like to do. People keep on talking about, man, Kirby Smart, he's figured Coach Heupel's offensive system out. Well, he didn't figure it out versus Ole Miss. We can see that if you run the things right, if you add more wrinkles to it, which we most definitely have, everything that y'all just saw, Tennessee has implemented in our system this season, and then some. And oh, by the way, if you think about Ole Miss's offense last year, you think about, man, this offense can really pass the football. They weren't great at running it. Tennessee can do both, okay? Just think about Ole Miss's offensive system with maybe a little bit better passing wrinkles on top of a much better running offense. And I also think that our offensive line is going to be better than Ole Miss's was. They did a pretty good job of picking up the stunts and blitzes that Georgia likes to run. We already know how that looks, and we know when they're going to bring them. It's just about getting the football out on time and having the plays drawn up down the field to have the people open so that we can do all those things. But I feel very, very confident in Tennessee putting up some good numbers on offense in this game, because Georgia's going to do what they do, and everyone knows what that is. It's just about having the proper answers to it. This season, Tennessee does. So those are my thoughts, y'all. Please make sure to share yours down in that comment section, and make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll be talking to y'all just a little bit later on. Thanks, peace. Thanks for watching, and please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, because that keeps us growing inside of the YouTube algorithm. And if you did like this video, here's another one that you might also enjoy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.